Hi Mukta, welcome to the podcast. So amazing to have you. I have tasted your fresh produce. I buy it regularly, and I'm very proud of your venture, BioBasket, and I wanted everybody to know a lot about it. So my first question to you is, how did you decide to pursue this offbeat career of getting into organic farming?
So, of course, thank you, Avanti, for having me here. And coming to your question, this question gets asked quite a lot of times because people think, how is this career have been chosen? So, I did my master's first in Germany. I went there to do my master's, and then I started with my PhD research in rice soil in Germany itself. So, after coming back to India, in 2019, I wanted to continue with my research because I have always been working in lab. Like for 9 years, I was in Germany, and it was all lab related research. And when I came back to India, I wanted to continue with that research. I met a lot of companies in agriculture sector. I met a lot of farmers. But problem in India is the grassroots research in agriculture or the core research is a problem. Nobody wants to invest in it till urea is subsidized in our country. And also there are a lot of other grassroots problems related to farming before we really dive into these core research things. So I realized that this probably is not a very wise idea to pursue this research in India. And meanwhile, in my journey, I had met a lot of farmers. I did a lot of organic trainings in Pune itself. Also in Germany, on weekends, I used to work with this organization called WOOF. It's the Worldwide Organic Farming Opportunities, that you can just volunteer at different organic farms to know how it's done their way, private farms. So anyone can list their organic farm and then you can just go and help them. So that is my only farming experience in my entire journey. So I thought that why not dig in hands in soil and start with farming itself. In my all 10 generations, paternal, maternal, anywhere, no one has done farming ever. But I thought if I want to start something with this, first I should know how farming is done. So I decided to start with my own farm near Bhor. We don't have a farming land as well. A family friend offered me a land. It was a 27-acre land. And out of that, I started developing a 10-acre land. And that's how the journey of BioBasket started. My father-in-law really pushed me to start with this. We did not know the direction where it's going to head. I did not know the long route that BioBasket is going to take, but I just thought that, okay, let's get into this and let's just know how it's done. And that's how BioBasket was started. So first 1.5 years, I was just developing the farm right from scratch, right from irrigation to how the labor is managed, how the rotation plans are done, and everything I did on my own to really know the process and the problems that come along. And then after that, just before COVID, we started with actually deliveries, home deliveries with friends and family network, starting with like a WhatsApp business with me and my sister handling everything. And yeah, that's how BioBasket began.
Very interesting story. So it's like, organic farming chose you kind of.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, the universe is listening.
Yeah. So, I would like the viewers to know, and this is a confusion for everybody. What exactly is organic farming?
Right, a very good question. Actually, we just use the term organic, but very often people just don't know what's the difference. Or maybe I would say the term is limited to vegetables and fruit. People just know that, okay, no pesticides, that means organic. That's it. That's the extent to which people know what is organic farming. But it's actually a full approach that is applied, I would say. It's the whole ecosystem that organic farming is based on. It's about the health, it's about sustainability, it's about a lot of other factors involved in. So, in a basic language, of course, organic farming is something where you do not use any chemical inputs or any synthetic fertilizers or even chemical, let's say, pesticides or anything of that sort, but everything that comes under the category of bio, let's say, or like biopesticides, herbal pesticides, or microbial cultures. So something that is defined under our government system, which you can use under organic farming. And so something like, for example, glyphosate or something that comes with the name chemical in it, you can't use that pesticide in organic farming. And these standards have been defined by our government under our main system called NPOP, that is National Program for Organic Production. And under that, whatever operating procedures are mentioned, we have to follow those in organic farming.
Correct.
On a broader term, or there are various types of organic farming. There is organic farming, there is natural farming, there is residue-free farming, but we often don't know the differences.
Correct.
So natural farming is something that, if you have heard of this Subhash Palekar method, the zero budget farming. So you just use shen khat or the cow dung, basically manures, and just something that is prepared on farm, like pesticides with like buttermilk or basin or something like that. So that is natural farming. So you just use whatever is available on the farm and you apply that. Under organic farming, there are specific products also that have been developed in the market that you can use for farming methods. That there are different pesticides, different fertilizers as well. It's just they are not synthetic. That is something like some herbal preparations or some natural preparations are there. So that's the main difference. So in organic farming, you won't find on your produce, there won't be any harmful chemicals or residues that will be there when you are going to consume them.
Correct.
That's the major difference.
That is
in terms of sustainability, of course, there are a lot of other things like organic farming can impact the environmental health. It can impact the sustainability. When you are putting a lot of fertilizers, you are already depleting the soil health. So if we think about 20 years, how a particular soil is going to be, of course, it's going to give you less yield because you have been really bombarding it with a lot of synthetic fertilizers. And then later on comes what you spray on the plant, that directly determines the health of the plant and then the health of the produce.
Correct.
So that's
correct.
the major difference in terms of
Correct. And
human life.
ultimately, the health of the human beings comes into picture.
Of course, definitely.
Yeah.
It all comes from the soil.
Yes. So, adding a question to that, let's just discuss, now we have got like organic farming and inorganic and something in the middle. I would like you to tell, what are the possible harms that could happen, if like people are increasing the consumption of more and more pesticide based farming or inorganic farming. What are the side effects or, what are the health issues that could arise due to that?
So actually I can go on and on for this, of course, because I promote organic farming. I have to. So I would say that let's be very practical here that, okay, not everything can directly shift to organic farming. We are an agriculture country, and not every farmer can suddenly decide and start doing organic farming because there are consequences. So if you think about in terms of farming methods, so what are the disadvantages of organic farming? I would say it comes down to the yield of organic farming. It's much lesser than conventional farming because we are letting the nature do its own job. So you have to bear the losses that comes with it, because if there is going to be a pest on the plant, in normal conventional farming you would be spraying it with some chemicals and to curb it, let's say, or to stop it. But in organic farming you cannot do that. For example, weed is a very common problem in farming, like there's some unwanted plants coming in and then they harm your actual plant. So then you spray something on it and then the weed dies and your actual plant stays healthy. In organic farming you have to apply manual labor to remove all that weed. So one chemical that can do the job in one day, you have to apply 10-day labor to do the same job. So it comes down to the pricing. So organic farming is labor intensive. The cost of production is on the higher side, even if you're not using any outside inputs, let's say. But the cost of production itself is higher and the yield is lesser. This is in terms of disadvantages, I would be telling very frankly. But when it comes to the sustainability part of it, think about it that we are putting without measuring, without thinking about the consequences, the fertilizers, the pesticides to the soil, thinking about it in 20 years, how it's going to react. Of course, it's going to go into environment, it's going to go into our bodies, and it will have a lot of impact on it. Coming to the health issues part of it, we just don't realize the power of natural food to be eaten naturally. Because I always say that why do I need to actually convince people to eat organic? Because organic is something that, how the food should be in its natural form. But it's a very big irony that we have to convince people to eat natural food in its natural form.
Correct.
But we don't go and ask the random vendor how many pesticides have been sprayed on this tomato or on these apples. They wouldn't know. No one is answerable there. But just because the price point comes in organic, we have to justify. I mean, that's I mean, completely fine. But my point is that yeah, natural food should be eaten in its natural form, because we don't even realize the impact it can have in long-term health. We might not be able to measure it. Like if I eat just one normal tomato or organic tomato, we might not be able to measure it, what happens in our body. But think about every day in Indian food, we eat tomatoes, onions, and we have it in our vegetables. And every day, if you're going to consume those minute quantities of pesticide residues, it's definitely going to harm for like several reasons. I mean, you must be knowing, you're a nutritionist. It can affect gut health, it can affect hormonal health, it can of course increase the risk of various cancers. So there are a lot of impacts
Health
that
implications, surely. And frankly speaking, when you eat organic food, organically grown food, or minimally pesticide sprayed food, as against the other form, there is a difference in taste, a stark difference in taste.
Yes.
So Mukta, when we were discussing, you mentioned organic farming can get a little bit challenging at times. So what are the challenges that you faced when you had decided, okay, I'll start this organic farming?
Yeah, so I faced a different kind of challenges being a woman and coming from a privileged background, of course. So I started the farming in Sanaswadi near Bhor, and I used to go there on my own, and people used to think, okay, what is this woman going to do here, and how is it even going to work, this farming kind of thing. So of course these are some gender related problem, I would say, but like people have less receptiveness when it comes to women being in farming especially. And those were kind of like some logistics related challenges I faced. But I would say when you're getting into the farming and you're actually doing it, you have no idea how to start, where to start, what if something goes wrong, and because it all comes down to, you are going to have a land full of vegetables and fruits. Where are you going to take it? How are you going to consume it? How are you going to harvest it? How are you going to manage the labor? Because it's not easy. We really underestimate what our farmers do. And I always say that if you want to, like, sometimes people are very they ask this very typical question I get to ask: why is the organic produce so expensive? But I'm always like, be it a conventional farmer or an organic farmer, you just be once at the farm and try to pluck 2 kgs of cluster beans or any kind of beans, and then you will know the kind of effort that you need to put in. I mean, I'm just talking about the harvest, not even the land preparation and the preceding things, but it's a lot of effort, be it for the organic farmer or the conventional farmer. In organic farmer, it's even more, because as I said, it's very labor intensive. So you have to employ a lot of labor, and you have to take care of the weed very often, because you cannot just simply spray chemicals on it and then the weed dies.
So manual labor is a lot. So how did you break the barrier of where a woman look difficult for a woman to really? So any story which you would like to share?
I mean, it just happened. I think I had one thing, I had decided that I want to be resilient, that I mean, I don't want to stop what I'm starting to do, because that something that started with farming was that I wanted to learn it. I did not have business on mind, and I was like, a family friend had offered me a land, and he had given me some responsibility towards it, and I can't just leave it in midway. There were many a times I faced safety issues. On a 27 acre of land, I used to go alone. So I used to carry literally a pepper spray with me. What if something happens here? Nobody's going to come and rescue me. But I think it's about just you decide something and you just do it.
Correct.
And I had
determined enough for that.
I was. And
so nowadays a lot of people want to start their small vegetable farm in the backyard, or want to actually take small lands and want to start organic farming. How would you want to guide them, like, or is there any place that they can learn it, or are there any standards, or are there any resources which they can find more about?
So actually a good question. More than customer enquiries, I get these kind of enquiries very often, that people call and tell, okay, we have a farming land, what to do with it, how to start with organic farming. Currently, I do not have the resources or the bandwidth to really get into it, that where I can actually guide people to start organic farming. But of course, it's something on my mind that it would be really nice if all of them who have agriculture land, they can grow their own food. So you can start really small. There are few trainings available in Pune also. If you just check with Krishi Vidyapit, or even there is this person called Nyaneshwar Bodke. Many people must have heard from him. He has this 1 acre farming workshops or something that happen in Hinjawadi. They run a club called Abhinav Farmers Club. It's something similar. So they can just do that training. If you have a small 1 acre land or a 2 acre land, you can start with that. So they tell you can start with just growing food for your own family. I think that's a wise way to start, because trust me, you would not know what to do with the entire plot of vegetables and fruits, because the main challenge here is the market. How I started with is I realized that there are so many farmers out there who are already doing organic farming, but the main challenge for them is to get the right market. So that's where I plan to jump, that I would rather use my knowledge and resources to develop the right marketing channel for them and bring the healthier produce to the audience, rather than get into farming, because
Absolutely.
there are many
it was like
farmers.
a voice that they got, it's so important. So important,
because that's the only motivation they have. If they get the right price for their organic produce, they would be continuing in the next season also those same farming practices. If they don't, they will not continue, because at the end of the day, they just want to earn something from that particular season. They don't care what next 10 years or 20 years are going to hold for them. But so I think that's more important. Before you get into any kind of farming, you should know if you have a market. If you're just going to grow it for your own family, that's perfect. But before getting into this kind of business, you should really know the market demand, and if there is a market in the vicinity for your own produce.
Correct. And just speaking about like me being a nutritionist, I would love everybody to know nutritionally how organic food can be better as compared to the conventional method.
Right. So I would say, of course, there have been many comparative studies when it comes to the nutrient content of organic and conventional produce. I would not say that on a nutrient level, on a micro or a macro level, there are many huge differences. But definitely, when it comes to antioxidants, let's say, there is a stark difference, have been observed in many comparative studies, let's say. Because what happens is, I'll give you a small example. So, for example, when our children are small, or even we have been told that we should not take many medicines when we are sick, especially for a small cough and cold, So because if we start giving medicines, our body will think that it's going to get something to heal it. And we will, our immunity will not be activated. We will not have antibodies to fight it when the next infection comes in. It's the same with plants. If we keep on giving synthetic pesticides for every small pest that comes on the crops, they will not have their own defense mechanism. Because this defense mechanism in a natural setup, when you're not giving them any synthetic pesticides or chemicals, they produce their own antioxidants, and lot of flavonoids and lot of let's say polyphenols are produced as a natural response to the stress that is being imparted to the plant.
So this is, I think these polyphenols and antioxidants have a lot of bearing in a lot of things. It is gut healing. It is, hormonal imbalance healing. It is like, even metabolic disorders, cancer cures. I mean, this is the heart of it, for which, we would probably consume a fruit or a vegetable.
Definitely. I think this is the main difference. I mean, of course, it changes. The degree of it changes in different crops and across the varying soil conditions. But for example, an apple and grape will have much more impact when they are grown conventionally than maybe a spinach or a fenugreek, let's say. So it's also wiser to choose what you eat. Basically, or when you choose to eat organic. That is also something.
That was my next question, actually. So we say like, yes, organic farming is good, and the conventional method will have a lot of pesticides and insecticides, residues still remaining in that. But there will be probably a difference in the levels of pesticides used on certain vegetables, which is very high in certain ones and not so much in the other ones. So which are the ones which you feel definitely a person should explore at consuming organic? This food or this vegetable or fruit should definitely be moved towards organic rather than the conventional. Which are those?
It comes down to, so for example, USDA produces a list every year called Dirty Dozens. So they have a list of 12 fruits that should be preferably eaten organic, because they are called Dirty Dozen, because you cannot imagine the amount of pesticides that is sprayed on them. And so in that, similar cases in India India also, we use comparatively less chemicals as compared to US. I must say that. So, for example, fruits should be chosen organic because we don't cook them, right, and we eat them raw. Especially some fruits are also eaten without peeling them off. For example, grapes or even sometimes apples. So because they are seasonal fruits, farmers spray a lot of pesticides on them day in and out. At least, like, in the entire season, at least 20 to 30 pesticides are sprayed on them with many cycles every day. And I mean, when it comes down to grapes, you can't even know like what you're eating, especially also strawberries. So because they want to protect that particular season, they are just seasonal fruits, they are not going to be there for 12 months, so they try to protect that crop, and because they get premium pricing for it. So I would say the seasonal fruits should at least be chosen organic if you have an authentic source.
And what about vegetables?
Also
Because
vegetables.
I've heard like tomatoes are the
tomatoes.
most
Fruit vegetables, they are very susceptible to pest attacks. That's why they are sprayed with more pesticides. So yeah, fruit vegetables should be chosen if possible organic.
Because I had a farmer who had come to take a diet from me once.
Oh.
He said, I'm not going to eat tomatoes.
yes.
Don't give it to me in the diet.
I have this so many times. So many times I go to visit farms and farmers, and it's very shocking to know that they grow just a portion for themselves organic, because they know that they are not going to give that to their family. And I'm like, okay, so I mean, the kind of produce that we eat, we have absolutely no idea what's been done at the back end. We just see that it's natural, but it's many a times just not natural. And so they grow for themselves just the organic part where they haven't sprayed anything, they haven't put anything harmful.
That is getting very common actually. Very
There
common.
are so many times I see it that they are not the organic farmers, but they are just growing a belt of it just for their families. And also it comes down to like grains, like rice and wheat and many other grains, or the dals, pulses. Many a times people don't know that how does it make a difference when we eat that organic. We just know vegetables and fruits should be eaten organic, but even while processing those grains and pulses, there have been so many fungicides and additives put in it just to increase the shelf life of it. While growing, of course, there have been fertilizers and pesticides sprayed on it like a normal crop, but even while processing, because there are no norms set for it, especially for you, if for example, if you go to a normal kirana shop and they don't have any labels, they don't have any specific standards or any specific packaging for it. So also grains and pulses, if you can choose to buy organic, especially flours, because they try to increase the shelf life of it by adding the additives.
I think you've got products also which people can buy, So BioBasket is really
so
a big
your
basket
everything.
It's
your everything that you need in your kitchen, all the staples.
So then my next question would be like, suppose if people will probably buy a combination of both organic as well as conventional, but if they happen to buy more of conventional, what precaution, especially for the fruits and vegetables, that they can take so that they reduce the load before they enter or start cooking?
I think the basic thing that you can do really is, especially it comes to fruits, then they can just brush the surface with water while wash it thoroughly, basically. And sometimes people also use like vinegar and baking soda, and
so that works.
Yeah, that works. But of course, you cannot stop what has gone inside already. I mean, you cannot clean that up. Like, there are pesticides which do enter the cells and tissues of the harvest that we eat, that fruits and vegetables, and there is no way you can clean that up. But the surface residues, of course, you can clean it by washing. They can break down a little bit, and then when we cook the vegetables, they are broken down further. It cannot be zero, of course. Like, it cannot be that all the pesticides are washed away. But
so
you
any
can
particular time that soaking should be done, like you said, like with vinegar?
When you get it from outside, then just before cooking or eating, you can
15 minutes? 15-20 minutes, and in plain cold water?
Yes, plain cold water also works fine.
Okay, so you're saying like get the produce and then wash it thoroughly, and then soak it either in soda or then acid medium, 15-20 minutes, and then you can wipe it off and utilize
for fruits, you can brush it with their surfaces so that a little bit of wax layers are there on apples or something like that. That can be gotten rid of.
So at least it will reduce the load a little bit.
It can reduce the load.
Yeah.
It cannot completely go away. So you can choose how you want to go about it.
So best is to increase the consumption of organic.
Yeah, at least fruits, I would say, especially for children and pregnant women, because their systems are, for children, the systems are just building up, right? It's the foundation of digestive system, of their entire health. And if we are going to bombard them every day, they do eat a lot of fruits. So if we are going to bombard them every day with minute quantities of those residues, because I have customers who just come to me to buy grapes. Like, you know, every season they
I have
just,
tasted the grapes. They are very yum.
So they only
taste
come
also
to
so
buy.
different.
They do.
They taste very different. So, you know, now in this market where there is organic produce, where, you know, you see not just vegetables, fruits, but you also see, you know, like grains are there, dals are there, and they are available like off the shelf, and then, you know, they are written as organic. But as a consumer, what should I, or, you know, how can I authenticate, like, okay, this is really an organic produce? Is there any certifications, or is there something that I should, you know, like how in a nutrition thing, like we would read the nutrition label, so how can a person understand, okay, like this is really organic, or partially semi, whatever you call it, organic, like, you know, what are the certifications to look for?
We have so the government has one main system called NPOP, as I mentioned previously. It's called National Program for Organic Production, and that government has given the agency that rules all these standard operating procedures, or makes the standards for it, is APEDA. And under APEDA there are many agencies who give you these organic certifications. So in your state or in your city there will be various organizations. For example, there is Green Cert, there is NOCA in Pune, who can give you these kind of certifications. And then the certification involves a lot of inspecting your soil, inspecting the farming methods, inspecting your sample, the actual final sample, for any residue testing in food labs, and they do this due diligence for you, and then you pay them, and then you get the certification.
But what is, you know, any certificate or any, you know, mark, like how you have like
so if you are certified through these agencies, through this NPOP agencies, then there will be a logo of India Organic on the products. If you go into any grocery store, or if you check for any organic labeled product, then there has to be this India Organic logo. That means that the product is certified under NPOP through one of the government
So
agencies.
are there any websites also where, you know, people can get, like the way you mentioned, like, you know, the list of like dirty dozens? Is there any
You can just go and check on APEDA website. It's a very well managed website, and you can know more about certifications, how it goes with that.
So, you know, as a consumer, if I want, if I get an organic product, and, you know, if I want to check its authenticity, I can send it to these agencies for testing.
That I don't know, the agencies can test it, but I think the vendors must be listed on the NPOP website.
That's enough.
Or there
for a
will be,
person to
because there is a
understand.
license number on every packaging that has to be mentioned. So if there is India Organic logo, and if they have mentioned which agency have certified them, there is always a license number mentioned. There are many agencies across India who operate in this field, but I always say that organic it's for a trust stamp, and because I have been there, done that, in that procedure, I know the loopholes. The due diligence also has some loopholes, like how the traceability is done also has loopholes. So I always say that just know your farmer, know from where your food is coming from. Don't buy things from a random vendor when it comes to natural food, especially because it's, at the end of the day, it's very important that knowing the source of your food. All these certifications and all is a fine system. They are very expensive certifications, so they are very, very expensive. Not a normal marginal farmer cannot get that done for you. So there has to be a company involved who can. So we also help the farmers to get the certification done. But at the end of the day, just know where your food is coming from. Know your farmer.
Like you know, but a lot of times this produce is like supply demand. And you know, like if more and more people start consuming organic, I mean, will there be a lot of gap? And then, you know, then what is the best way out of this?
It's a game of demand and supply, as you said, because this is always a limitation. This has always been a limitation for organic farming, because the pricing comes in, and then the consumer is, of course, restrained to buy it, right? Because people are like, I'm getting a coriander for normal 10-15 rupees. Why do I pay 40 rupees for the same? But I think it's about changing the perception, how we perceive the product. Like, we don't mind doing some lifestyle changes or buying a fancy protein bar just because, we need it. But we
So
don't realize what we are investing when
It's
we
like
are
day in and day out. It's like a staple.
It is.
Yeah,
Because
it
we
is.
eat it every day. So it's about changing your perception, basically. And if we start to demand more, there will be more supply. It always runs like that. As I said, not the entire world can shift to organic farming the very next day, but it's a process. It creates a ripple effect. It's about creating a food culture that is from ground up, that starts from soil, and it's about having to give our generations a good food to eat, and natural food in its natural form. So
Amazing.
it's about creating the
Amazing.
ripple effect.
So Mukta, you have shared so much of information and so much of confusion. Even I had a lot
Yeah.
about organic farming. What is the benefits?
Right.
How if somebody wants to choose organic product, or
Right.
even if he buys a conventional, how to take care of it once you get it home.
Right.
So, what is this one message that you would like to give the viewers?
As I said in my last question, I think just know the source of your food. I think that is something very, very, very important. I have seen the various sides of it, and I can really tell you that really know the source of your food, because in today's day and age, what we are eating is really going to shape us, because there have been so many new products and they are so much processed. Even vegetables and fruits are processed nowadays. So I would say just really know the source of your food.
So it's like time that a consumer wakes up and decides, okay, this is the place that I need to really invest
Yes.
in health,
Yeah.
and the rest all can just follow.
Yes,
So
definitely.
thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing such good information.
Thank you so much for having
Mukta.
me. Yes, thank you.